Do you think atheism will destroy Islam from within, similar to how it's happening in Iran? Well, I'm confused by Islam from within. Do you mean will destroy Muslim majority countries from within? Because that's what I think you mean based on this follow-up question.
I
How
mean,
do you interpret and answer this question?
atheism, it's what happens when, okay, it's not atheism that is destroying Islam. Is that Islam is destroying itself, and atheism is growing as a result. Because
Especially the reformers. The reformers are doing our work for us.
Yes. By the way, guys, don't let the Christians make you think like, oh, people in Iran are leaving Islam. Jesus, they need Jesus. That's not happening. That's not happening. People in Islamic countries, when they leave Islam, they're leaving religion. Okay. Some of them, a lot of them still believe in God, but they abandon religion as a whole. But also, many of them are also abandoning God. Okay. But this whole idea of going around and telling Muslims that Islam is dumb to hopefully turn them to Christian, that's not happening. They're not going to Christianity. They're abandoning religion, which is really good. But yeah, it is happening though. It's happening at, like, I would consider myself an optimist, but how fast is it going to happen? And people are like, Armin, you're dumb. You're dumb. It's not going to happen that fast. And now the numbers are coming out, and it's actually, I wasn't optimist enough. I was an optimist, and everybody told me that I'm too big. Like, it's not going to happen as fast as you're saying. And the numbers came out, and it actually ended up being faster than I ever had dreamt. So again, guys, this is why you come to me, because my takes are good. Okay, in fact, I have to go be more confident about my takes. Okay.
Oh, there's a really good question for me.
Okay, good.
Susanna, do you have any advice to get people out of the radical woke left? My brother and his partner are super woke, and they call me alt-right all the time. I'm a left-wing liberal. Well, when I was a radical, I don't know if they are familiar with this phrase, but there was a phrase that cut a liberal and a fascist bleeds. So, like, it's basically implying that liberals are either fascists with a nice coat of paint on, or they will turn to fascists as soon as the proletariat rises against them in order to seize their property, basically. What advice do I have? I would look for inconsistencies in their positions, because there are going to be a lot of inconsistencies in their positions, and highlight those inconsistencies. One inconsistency that really got me thinking, was how the left treats, well, I'm not going to say the left broadly, the radical, militant, woke, and those are all kind of separate, but there can be crossover. Left, generalizing. There's a lot of inconsistencies about how they treat the minority within the minority. The minority within a minority group who has criticisms of that minority group from which they come, that runs counter to the narrative that is popular among, say, progressives, or broadly progressive groups. So, for example, one very easy way to highlight this is the treatment of LGBTQ people who are either Muslims or from a Muslim background. That's the minority within the minority. And that'll cause, basically, you have to look for the cognitive dissonance, right? That's one area, one juncture of cognitive dissonance, because it's two competing minority groups. You have to look for areas of cognitive dissonance and just trying to point them out. And of course, they have to be willing to engage in a conversation. That's most important of all. So if you're having a conversation with them, maybe ask them, like, is it okay if I challenge you on this? I would study street epistemology. So street epistemology will give you a lot more tools to utilize in conversation to help drill down into how someone goes about establishing what is true. When I started to learn more about epistemology and using the techniques of street epistemology, I quickly realized that my methods of establishing what is true were like really flawed. And coming to that realization ultimately led me to let go of a lot of the dogmas that I was holding on to, with the realization that maybe one day I will go back to those same positions. Maybe one day I'll go back to those positions, but if I do, I will have better reasons for believing in them than I did before. So I hope that gave you some questions. Or mostly I would suggest reading this book called Combating Cult Mind Control by the now Stephen Hassan, PhD. He recently got his PhD. This will give you a lot of tips on understanding thought terminating cliches. It will help you understand dogma. And the latter half of the book is about helping people get out of dogma. So, must read.
All right. Prophet Muhammad is saying, I'll rephrase, do you think atheism will rise from within the Islamic societies and the process will be similar to the process in Iran? Short answer, yes. Next question. Do you want to highlight the other questions?
Shoot. I just jumped. Yeah. Guys, if we missed your question, if we accidentally ghosted you, please post your question again because the chat is jumping.
I'm not going to address this. It's not good safety-wise. I can't talk about this.
Yeah.
Atheism is what happens when you finally understand Islam. Well, it's not the only way. It's not the only path to atheism. But yeah, sure. Do you not think the West is succumbing to Sharia more and more, like Norway or nope, or Bill 103 in Canada? No. I think the West is. I think the influence of Christianity in Western countries is way bigger, a much bigger problem than Islam is and probably ever would be. That doesn't mean Islam is not a problem in Western countries. It definitely is, and it needs to be fought against. But the influence of Christianity is a lot more in politics and everywhere else. And that's, again, Islam as a religion is much more dangerous right now to the planet as a whole. Islam takes the lead when it comes to the level of danger for mankind. But in West,
excluding state violence.
Excluding state violence, yes. Well, I'm talking ideology.
Yeah.
Islam is the most dangerous ideology right now on the planet. But when it comes to specific countries, Christianity is leading Islam. For example, North American countries, European countries, Israel, Judaism is a much bigger threat in Israel than Islam is, with all the attacks and all that. Still, I think Judaism, and in India, is definitely Hinduism is a much bigger problem than Islam.
And think about the pushback that these things get, right? There's major pushback. I mean, it often can be in the form of extremely reactionary, often sometimes bigoted far-right pushback, but there is so much pushback.
And subscribe! Everyone! Every single one of you is watching! Subscribe! Do it now! Do it! Do it now!